Yeah, no more introduction needed. Lloyd Exley, Strategic Development Manager. And my project, my involvement is One Horton Heath. So this is a major development project that is being delivered by Eastleigh Borough Council. And this is my life at the moment. Everything that I do revolves around this project. So you can see on the plan there, at the moment, it's just 320 acres of land. There's a couple of roads there that are being built, but it's effectively just a large agricultural farm area. And the proposal is that Eastleigh Borough Council are going to develop this with 2,500 houses, a primary school, a local centre, shops and facilities, and other non-residential uses. So it's an absolutely massive project. It's a proper strategic scale development because it's doing much more than just delivering a few properties. It's been going on since about 2015, this project, probably a bit earlier than that in fact, and it's planned to go on until at least 2035 at the moment on current projections before it's finished. So, as I say, a really big project overall. But I'll talk to you about that a little bit more in a while, and exactly what that means for, particularly for me, my career and the journey that I've been through. So this is it at a glance. That's me on the left. I didn't draw that, but a caricature that someone put together. So I am Strategic Development Manager. A bit of a mouthful, that one, and it's really reflective of quite how wide and varied this particular role is. There just isn't a neat job description for what I do for the project. However, my role is entirely about management, so I don't really implement or do anything anymore. It's all about people management, it's about project management. Crucially, it's about decision making and strategy. So most of what I do is not necessarily making the decisions, but helping other people to understand what the options are, what the implications of those decisions are, and informing the debate around those decisions before those decisions then get made. Then we go on to make strategies and plans about how we can actually carry out those processes. So, as I say, if this project has been going on since 2015, we are planning as far ahead as 2035, and all of the way through trying to understand what the implication of one particular decision today might have in 2, 3, 5 or even 10 years time. So it's really quite a, as I say, a varied role and a very broad role as well. I find myself getting involved in all sorts of things that honestly I never thought I'd be involved with probably 2 or 3 years ago. The role is also about people. I have 5 technical and planning staff who report directly to me as their line manager, and that's out of a team of about 20, all of whom myself and other people are responsible for in one form or another. So that's broadly what I do at the moment, and towards the end of this session I'll talk a little bit more about exactly what kind of skills that takes, some of the good things about it and some of the bad things as well, so that you can understand a bit more about what the role actually entails. But I'm going to go backwards first, right to the start, and just talk through my career and how I've ended up where I have ended up. So it started for me at Barton Peveril. I went there in 2006, left in 2008 with my A-levels. When I joined in 2006, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I was studying to apply to college to become a vet. So you can see that the A-levels that I selected were completely designed with that in mind. I was working towards all of the work experience that was needed for that. I had done my biomedical aptitude test, and towards the latter part of my second year, I had to be honest with myself, and I realised that I did not want to spend another 5 years in full-time education. That was just not something that I was going to survive particularly well. I needed to find a role that had a bit more flexibility, but crucially also still got me a degree, because I didn't want to just discontinue my education and move on. So before I left sixth form, in fact, I just wrote to lots and lots of construction companies in the local area, and when I left, I immediately joined a local construction company as a management trainee. I had no specific job role at the time. I knew nothing about construction. I just had my school education, my sixth form education, but they had agreed to put me through a bachelor's degree at the local university and to pay for that on a day release basis. So the course would be 1 day a week for the next 5 years, at the end of which I would have that bachelor's degree in construction management. Apart from that, the first part of the job was mostly making tea, folding drawings. I didn't have any other skills, and so I think what I really tasked myself with doing was just to get involved in everything that I possibly could, so that I could learn about what was going on and move on and move forwards. So I quickly moved into technical aspects. So I became a technical coordinator, and the technical parts of construction are all about design management. So it's document control, it's looking after drawings, it's all about how buildings are designed, how they're built, so that if something goes wrong or the site team needs an answer about how to do something, it's the technical staff who people come to and ask questions. There's a lot of coordination involved, that everything the architect does has to line up with everything that the engineer does, and so on and so forth. But at this stage, I was working very closely with the technical manager. I wasn't just left to my own devices, told to get on with it. I was very much mentored through this process, and I think that was a fantastic opportunity for me to really get a handle on the construction process. And but before I'd gone too far in my career, I had a lot of exposure to the different parts of the process, the different roles that are available, and for me, design and technical was where I enjoyed myself, if I'm honest, and that's what I was good at. That's where I stayed. So I kind of moved onwards to being a full technical manager. Again, very much the same role, but by this stage I had responsibility for all of the aspects of design on a construction project, and not necessarily just one project either. At times I would have 5 or 6 building sites. I think at one stage I had over 200 houses and apartments collectively across probably 5 or 6 building sites, all of which I was responsible for. And again, for me, that was a brilliant learning experience, because a building site like the one pictured there, probably over 1,000 drawings that go into designing and being able to build that. And I had to go through every single one, understand how they all interfaced, and if the site team phoned me up saying, "What on earth do we do about this problem we've come across?" it was me who had to trek out there, look at the issues and know how to resolve them. So lots of problem solving, lots of project management, lots of dealing with different people, and lots of travel as well. I was looking after sites all along the south coast. So from a relatively early stage in their career, it was quite a broad and varied role, just a great opportunity to get involved in lots of different aspects. and different parts of the industry as well. It wasn't all just about houses. We did some hospital works, some defence works, schools, all sorts of different things. So quite a good exposure to different parts of the industry. And towards the later process, I became more and more involved in the upfront stages of a project. So my role by then was titled planning manager, very, very similar to technical manager, but rather than working on live construction projects, it was all at the front end. So town and country planning processes, bidding on land, or trying to assemble lots of different landowners to put together a major site. And I was finding for myself that being involved in the front stages of a project like that was when I really had the ability to influence and shape a project, and to could change the way that it would be delivered over the future years. And again, that was the part that really opened my eyes to the importance of good strategy, good decision making, good upfront planning, and that was why I tended to move more and more towards that part of the process. Also worth noting that during the latter stages of that, once I finished the degree, my employer also encouraged me to go on and do a master's degree as well. So again, that was day release, just 1 day a week. That was all paid for by my employer, but actually over 7 years of working for them, I was able to get the bachelor's degree and the master's degree alongside my work and the experience. And for me, again, that was a fantastic way of getting the degree, but not being stuck at university for 3, 4 or 5 years. So more recently, from that planning aspect, I got involved with One Horton Heath. That was a project that myself, some others, we assembled the land, and we started coming up with the plans that eventually turned it into what it is. So it started out very much as just lots and lots of land and a couple of sketches, and a few very good ideas. At 2018, for instance, there were just 2 people, myself and a person who's now the project director, just the 2 of us trying to work out exactly what we're going to do with this massive multi-million-pound project. That was a very interesting challenge, quite a test. It involved lots of meetings in empty buildings. We didn't really have a proper setup at that point. It was all very casual. We did recruit some additional members to our team, and we became stable at a team of about 5. But ultimately, all that we had was some very nice land, a collection of fairly attractive buildings, but lots and lots of potential, lots of opportunities. And if we wanted that to become anything more than that, we had to come up with that plan. So everything came down then to us, and I have to say that was a real test, a real challenge, but it was a fantastic one, and one that I really enjoyed. And if we skip forward now to the present, there's now over 20 people in our team. So myself, the project director, and a couple of those members who were involved in the early parts of the project, we put together the resource plans. We had to work out who we needed, what kind of skills we needed, how much we could pay people to retain them in this project. We have interviewed every single one of these people and brought them onto our team, and we have now got a fantastic, really strong team of specialists, and as a result we've got a clear plan of how we can deliver this project. We've also delivered tens of millions of pounds of infrastructure, so some really major roads that have now been built by the team. And perhaps most critically, we've got 2 major planning applications due for approval shortly, and we have a really strong, cogent plan for what the next 10 years looks like. If the last few years have taught me anything, it's that those plans are going to change hundreds and hundreds of times over the next few years. But for looking back to where we started, it's been a really interesting journey. And for me, I'm genuinely proud of where we've ended up at the moment, and excited about what we've got ahead of us. So that's where we are at the moment. So I wanted to talk a bit about what's worked for me, because I think one of the things that I've seen over the years that I've worked is that everybody's different. Everyone has a different way of dealing with things, a different way of dealing with their job role. But I think there's a few things that I've picked up on, both for myself and for my team, that work, and there's a few things that obviously don't. And probably the most important one for me is hard work. It has been incredible hard work the whole time, and I think for myself, I like to think one of the things that set me apart relatively early on is that I have always worked hard. I knew what I wanted, and I was prepared to put the time in, the hours to go and get that. And that is really, really important, and there's no moving away from that. But alongside that, there's two closely related points. Just get yourself involved in everything and try new things, because the penalties for failure at something that you've never tried before or that you don't know are always much less severe than just not bothering. For me, the worst thing that could have happened would have been pigeonholing myself or restricting myself to one particular role or aspect. Part of the reason that I'm now able to be involved with what I am involved with is because I have, I spent a lot of time getting involved in new things, trying new things, failing spectacularly sometimes, which is absolutely fine to do. But you have to put yourself out there and try. Ambition as well. Now I've deliberately said controlled ambition because I don't particularly advocate being the person who's going to walk over everyone, climb over their colleagues to get to the top. That's not necessarily what I mean, but it never does any harm to let the people around you know that you are ambitious, that you want to go and you want to progress in your career. And in fact, that you'll find nothing worse than being passed over for a promotion or for an advancement somehow, and someone saying, well, I just didn't know you wanted it. So, there is no harm in letting people know that you're ambitious and you want to succeed. But alongside all of those, there's self-motivation. No one else is going to push you forwards. No one else is going to make you work hard. And again, that's something that at times I've really, really struggled with. When work doesn't seem to be going particularly well, how do you keep yourself going? How do you keep yourself driving? There's no easy answers for that one from me. Again, I think it's just something that everyone has to learn. These are learned things. They're not necessarily things that people just have naturally. And the last point not to underestimate is contacting people. I would say that everyone around me at the moment, the people who I deal with, I have worked with for a very long time. Some of them I went to university with, that day release course, and now they're my colleagues because either I've offered them a job or at some point they offered me a job. Other people who are now part of my team are ex-colleagues that I worked with because I knew them through my work and they were good. And the construction industry is a small place. It's all about people and contacts. So as I say, it's just worth remembering the importance of the people who are around you. And know your strengths and weaknesses as well. I deliberately steered away from some of the roles that revolved around numbers, like quantity surveying, finances, because it's a weakness of mine. It's a very good role, but it's just not somewhere that I would have been able to succeed. So, know what you're good at and know what you're not good at, and don't shy away from your weaknesses. If you can, learn to patch them up and get better at them, but put yourself somewhere where you have the ability, the opportunity to succeed. So I'm going to look briefly at some of the skills now that I've needed and that I think are important. Excuse me, just having a drink. And I think that the thing that really stood out to me, again, all the way through my career, is that all of the skills that I have needed have come through experience and from the job. I don't want to downplay the importance of education, because it is hugely important, and it does provide the backing to a good role. But the majority of the skills that I need for my role have been learnt on the job. And those are the ones that I think are particularly important. There's no specific skills, you don't need to know everything about designing houses. You don't have to be the expert in any particular subject in order to manage people. So for me, the skills of adaptability, being able to look after people, to be able to lead people, to manage your time properly, those things are much more important. And just briefly as well, to give a little bit of a breakdown of how the day looks, how the role looks in terms of senior management, because certainly for me, I found it very different to my earlier career and different to how I probably expected it. I think the chart on the left there probably says it all, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but 90% of my time is making sure that other people are doing their jobs. I probably spend 10% of my time or less doing something that I feel like I probably should be doing or I want to be doing. It's all about other people at this stage. And as you can see on the right, most of my time is spent up in meetings. At the moment they are largely virtual, but I do a lot of face-to-face meetings. Lots of written reports as well, and obviously a huge amount of email goes without saying. But that came as quite a bit of a surprise to me when I found myself looking after this big team of people, and I'm trying to get on with things, but actually the priorities are to help other people to be able to do what they want to do. And I think that's just something to think seriously about, whether that works for you, or if you're happier on the implementation side of things rather than strategy and people.
For young people who are interested in planning, design, new housing developments, I kind of say to them, you need to get out there and volunteer as young as possible. There's quite often opportunities for a young voice. I know there is in Exley. You can join a forum where you actually get to say, well, this is how we want to move around our development. This is how we want to live in this area. You can go onto the council website and you can sort of watch some of the meetings back, so you can hear how people kind of put their point across. You've heard from what Lloyd was saying, a lot of it is negotiation, flexibility, adaptability. You might have a very clear path of how you think a development's going to take place. Then you're listening to residents or you're listening to councillors, and they might have a different point of view. So you can hear how some of that goes on from a strategic point of view in some of our meetings. You can download those on our website. We are just about to take on 2 industry placements. So that's 2 16-year-olds that have joined CTEC to do the new T-level in design, surveying and planning. And we're going to take on 2 members into our team, and they will be with this team for 2 years, and they will rotate through all the different departments to learn about how we plan and design a new housing development. But we're always keen to take on people to come and do work experience or to do a day shadowing with us. We're looking at kind of creating a tool. We've been kind of talking about creating something that we can bring into schools where you can start to plan out your own little town or an element of the town. Like you might want to create a skate park with me, or a recreation ground. So we're kind of looking to link up with some of the local colleges and schools and with students to give you immersive, so full-on experiences of what job roles in this industry would look like. So, you know, you can email me, and your careers leaders in school know my email address really well, so you can come out and visit the site and spend a bit of time with us if you would like to.
It's not, no. It's not essential. It would be relatively unusual to not have the degree, but at no stage in my career at interviews or anything has anyone really looked at my academic record. What they've always focused on has been the experience aspects and making sure that I can talk the talk. So that, as I say, that is much more important in these aspects. I think one thing I would say is that if I regret anything, it was probably not doing a slightly more focused degree. So some of my colleagues you'll speak to a bit later today, for instance, chartered planners, chartered ecologists, in order to have those kind of careers, I would have had to have done a highly specific degree, that allowed me to pursue chartership. And probably of everything I wish I could have done, because that would have made a big difference. As I say, because it's such a broad and varied role, it opens an awful lot of avenues at this level, and I think the opportunities are quite significant. I would be quite confident saying that I could go and join a well-established construction company as a director of the business, or potentially well equipped to try and establish my own business doing various things, consultancy or even construction, if I had the finances behind me. So, as I say, it's quite, because it's a broad role and a senior role, it just opens up a lot of doors and potential routes in the future.